Hi, and a warmly welcome to Season 5 of Fail and Grow with me, Vilma. I'm one of the co-founders to VLOXQ CPQ, perfectly and very smooth integrated to the rest of your ecosystem, creating quality quotes quickly. Fail and Grow is an after-work podcast niched into operational excellence. And what is that? That is everything that smoothens your sales and your operations to ensure that your revenue increases and, of course, the profits and your margins. And today, I'm thrilled to say that I am someone that I quite recently got to know a bit better, Fredrik Landström at Invise. And what I admire most about this person is that he's so technical skilled. And in this case about HubSpot, but I'm sure, Fredrik, you are technical skilled about whatever, but and also very helpful. So Fredrik, it's a great pleasure having you as a guest in today's episode of Fail and Grow.
Pleasure being here.
Lovely. Would you mind talking a little bit about yourself and Invise? Because I know that Invise, you have the interesting niche of being a marketing, sales, and tech agency, a top-tier partner globally for HubSpot. That was the bragging part. Now you can tell me what you actually do.
Yeah, that's the bragging part. Yeah. I can brag for a while as well. So let's see where it goes.
Let's go.
First of all, I'm Fredrik, just as you mentioned. I work as a CTO for Invise. We're a Stockholm-based company with around 60 employees at the moment. And I've been here for 5.5 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. My background is actually art director back in the days. And I, got a lot of orders from higher up the hierarchy saying like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I felt like, no, I want to be in charge of telling you this is not good or not. So I studied to be communications, kind of rhetorics, not specialist. I don't guess there's any education on that, but I was interested in that. And when I started at Invise, actually, we were a classic inbound marketing agency because that was something new and fresh. Back in the days. It's not today, it's more like common sense today, but got here when we were a marketing company, and I left my role as a CMO for another Swedish company. So yeah, now I'm here, and that's kind of my CV, nothing more. But the more you dig into HubSpot and the more you dig into CRM, etc., you kind of understand that everything is relying on data. So data and technical interest just guided me towards this position. Yeah.
Exciting. And today we are going to talk about trends within the Nordic regarding digitization. We will see exactly what the topic will be of the episode. But before we jumping into the real stuff, I am very curious about if we were having a face-to-face, not a Zoom meeting as we have at the moment. If we were having a face-to-face and we were on after work, what would you prefer to drink in your glass?
I am not a fine tasting gentleman. I would just prefer a really like blend lager. Nothing else, nothing special at all. Well, I kind of like to drink other stuff as well, but for an after work 100%, it's just a regular beer. The cheapest one and the coldest one. I'm happy with that.
My fiance says he's trying to teach me after 4 years together what kind of beer he likes, and he was like, he brought one yesterday he was like, Wilma, do you see it's a fat guy on it? Just look after the cheapest beer. I was like, okay. But I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive to be good, or
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And moving on to your funniest work-related fuck up. Do you have something funny you want to share with us today?
What kind of fuck ups haven't I done? I mean, isn't that the work we do, to fuck up all the time and realize that we're wrong and then try to adjust it to the next time and just fuck a little bit less. So I would say it's all about fuck ups, because usually when people come to us, it's not like I open my files and say, well, this is the solution for your problem, let's just apply that to whatever you want. It's more like, well, I never heard of this before, let me determine if we can do something, and let's do some trial and error. And I mean, that's how it works. But anything in particular? Well, of course, I mean, with integrations, just as when you work with this, you can absolutely delete the whole CRM and be really shaky that evening and trying to get everything back with backups and stuff. So yeah, of course we have done some crazy stuff. Me as well.
Yeah, you do have deleted a full CRM.
Absolutely. It's not the best sales pitch for me, but usually, you know, it isn't. We're trying to mitigate that risk. I would say this is from my early days when, you know, you wouldn't even connect your CRM to marketing. So you're just like, oh, there's a connect button. Let's click it and see what happens. And then that happens usually. So yeah. That's good.
Okay, we live and we learn, right?
Absolutely.
So jumping straight into today's subject, we had a very short and sweet talk before about this episode, what we're going to niche it into and talk about. And I'm very curious from your point of view, being the CTO at one of the biggest HubSpot agencies globally, and seeing the trends within digitization. So when I asked you about this, what was the instant thought you had if we look at trends and digitization on the Nordic market?
I mean, it's a really good question, and I know that we spoke beforehand. And as always, I just improvise everything, but at the same time, I probably have it in my head. I would say like the general trend, and that has kind of been going on for a while, but now we can see the effect of it, is that, I mean, the digitalization has been going on for a while, and people have been talking about it since, you know, early, 2001 something. What I can see is that a lot of companies has really, you know, tried to move into a digital area where they just have acquired multiple SaaS services, and they are using one tool for a certain thing and another tool for another thing, whatever. So they are kind of digital, but they don't have anything connected. They don't have any scalable solution at all. And I mean, this problem occurs today as well. That I would say that's one of the biggest hurdles that we work with, is that you want to be, as a customer, you want to quick and easy, you know, get everything up and running, and you kind of forget to build that foundation. And I think we see the result of an unconnected SaaS environment today that we need to, you know, sort out. And I'm happy to do it, of course. That's what drives business for us. But at the same time, we still struggle of getting that across, because it's a boring cost when you try to, you know, acquire and do this digitalization journey. It's almost like, oh, I want this feature, I want to do this thing. Maybe tomorrow I can start sending automated emails, and I'm like, yeah, that's the end goal. But in order to do that in a good way, we need to invest money and time in something as boring as a foundation. I actually thought about this yesterday, you know, because I'm renovating my home for some reason. I don't have time, but I do it. And I just figured, you know, it's kind of similar, because you just want it to be finished. You just want to see that top layer of that coating and that nice color and all the furniture in its place. But if I were to, you know, just start painting the walls, I would see cracks coming out, and just like, okay, damn, I forgot to make this a smooth surface. And maybe, you know, when you start to outgrow that room, you realize that, okay, shit, I have 5 more rooms and I haven't even thought about how to connect them to, they look like crap from here. It's not, of course, a one-to-one comparison, but it still feels similar. Like, yeah, and this also one thing that is similar is that it's expensive as shit. So you need, I mean,
and time
it's a bummer.
Don't forget time assuming.
It's time consuming. Yeah, and exactly. So I would say that is, I don't know if that's a trend or not, but that's the major fuck up of the, you know, all the companies in the world, I would say.
If we stay there a little bit, I thought because as a SaaS provider, supplier, as we are at Velox, I find that the demands from the customers have been much more clear in that they ask, is this integratable to this? Who is responsible for the integration? Will you do it? Will you ensure that it works together? I mean, the demands, it's much more, I don't really know how to say it, but like knowledgeable. It's like they know more today than just 5 or 10 years ago. But the sense that you are talking about is that the customers has bought all these SaaS solutions, and it's tricky for them to get them together. So my question is, who is responsible? Is it us, the SaaS providers and suppliers, Or is it the customers that has to ensure that the system actually do work together?
It's once again a good question. I would say that it's both our problems, both as us and the clients, because I also see that there's an increase in knowledge in kind of what you want to attain doing certain stuff. I think that as a SaaS service, I'm not working for HubSpot. I'm not obliged to say that they're glorious and perfect, but I am specialized in that. And of course, there we talk about this 360 view. But at the same time, HubSpot is selling a system, and if you want to say like, I just want this part of the system, as a sales rep on HubSpot, you're going to say, well, that's good for me because my budget needs that. And the same thing probably goes to other SaaS companies. You want to sell your service, but you leave it to the customer to have that integration thoughts. And that is also, we talked about this, and connected to that as well, I would say, like the biggest problem, you mentioned something that it's not 100% I'm not 100% following you there. I see that there are a lot of companies say like, we need to integrate, because that word is like inbound marketing was 5 years ago. It's just like, integrate. It's more like, why and how? What do you want to achieve? Because usually they come to us and say like, we have this ERP, we want to connect it to HubSpot. How much does it cost? It's just like, do you want us to rebuild an ERP platform, or do you just want the first name to be synchronized? Because that is going to be from 5 hours to 2,000 hours spent on that. So I think like, what is the name? I'm going to say this in Swedish. Kravspec. That is kind of something that we need to educate people in marketing and sales about. IT people know it, but IT people usually get involved too late.
And just to translate, to have a clear blueprint of what do we want to do, what do we want to achieve, because that I feel is spot on. They often ask the question, the trending question, is it integrated, or how do we integrate? And our question is always, what do you want to achieve? Or I guess you want to achieve this, or so maybe if we should try to educate the poor listeners to this episode, maybe feel that we are talking about something too simple, that is to ensure that you look into your system, what do you want to achieve with them, and after that build your blueprint of how it should be connected to one another, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also there's, if you're working as a sales manager or a CMO, whatever, it might feel, a little bit scary to talk about technical requirements, because if I ask you the question, what do you want it to do? They immediately start thinking, well, I don't know the API endpoints. I don't know how to put these kind of requirements. But I would say, if you can just tell me from like a human perspective, what do you want it to achieve? It's like, if you can write me a story, well, I work as a sales rep, and when I do this, I want this to happen in the other system. And I also want to see this, whatever. That helps us tremendously. You don't need to map data, because that's something, that's the next step. But just say like, what do I want to achieve as a human, not as an IT person? That question, just kind of don't make it too dramatic. That helps us tremendously. Yeah,
I agree. Okay, if I were to call that trend number 1, do we have other trends that you see within the Nordic landscape and digitalization that has come on to you, lately, or the years? Här måste jag klippa bort det svamlade.
No, but absolutely. I would say I have 2 more trends in my pocket. So let's, start with one of them. And that would be, connected to HubSpot, because, usually when you work with marketing, sales, whatever, or tech, that is, one part of it is more like a methodology, like how do we work? How do our organization work? But on the other end, and that's where we kind of rely on HubSpot, is like, what kind of platform do I have to help me do those things? And the reason I'm talking about HubSpot today is because I know it. You can probably achieve same things with, I don't know, choose Salesforce or whatever software you prefer. But that we can see a lot more B2C companies are moving into HubSpot as more of a triggering engine, rather than what we call usually as lead nurturing, lead scoring, these long sales cycles. We start seeing e-commerce, we start seeing, you as a SaaS provider, you might want to have like, okay, when people purchase our SaaS product, we want to have a guided onboarding. And based on how they actually, behave on that guided onboarding, we want to trigger certain notifications, in-app notifications, or, text messages, whatever, and just, help them where they are. Not saying, wait 2 days and then send this email. If they click, wait 5 more days. Not that. More like immediate. Okay, you haven't been using the Uber app for 10 days, but we know that you usually take this journey. Well, let's give you a notification that you have 20% off. And that kind of stuff never happened 5 years ago, at least with HubSpot. But today we see it like that's the engine. And yeah, a lot more B2C companies are coming into this journey, and it's fun. I like it.
Do you see, or just yesterday I got an SMS because I'm working remote, so I'm not in Sweden when we are recording this, and I had an SMS from ICA, a typical food store in Sweden, says, hi, here you have 20% discount for your next big buy or something like that. And I was like, yes, this is because they see a pattern in my behavior that is not what they usually see. So that's why they probably trigger something that you exactly what you just described. Very funny that they just got it. And do you see this applicable also for the B2B selling companies, or the same mindset applicable within B2B, or is that something for the future maybe?
No, but I would say B2B. When I said B2C, I would say B2C more like e-commerce, and for B2B, maybe SaaS solutions. If you're, selling a tractor or whatever, we might not see that kind of need to have that instant feedback. We don't have an app that we need to fetch that to. I think that you can probably use some of that functionality. Is it the best fit? Well, maybe not. Maybe it's more of a nurturing strategy that you should use your system for a classic B2B long sales cycles thing. But I mean, ICA is a good example. But that's, another one, to send a text message to a Swedish person, that is a big no-no. In general, we in the Nordics overall, you don't send text messages unless the person has really said, like, I want to receive text messages, because for us, that's very private. In the US, for example, work with a lot of US companies, it's just like bread and butter to send text messages. But if I receive one, I was just like, well, you're in my pocket, and I don't like that. So
that's true. That's true. That is
thing,
interesting how it's that it's that different in the US, because I also feel every time I feel or I receive an SMS, it's like, then you're personal with me. But on the other hand, to text me is the definite easiest way to get in contact with me. So if anyone want to ask me, like, Wilma, how do I reach you? It's like, send a text. So
100%. But that's probably with a human that you're talking to, and that's totally fine from a cultural perspective. I would say, So we see a huge, change there. And I also think, related to both our trends and actually the industry or your company, I would also see, like, if we're looking at HubSpot, people came to us, let's say just 2 years ago, and said, we want a 360 solution. And I said, well, we got a good start using HubSpot. But then they start, saying like, okay, but we have this really complex quotation situation. And I feel like you also, as much as I tell you that you shouldn't have a scattered kind of tech stack, you also need to show respect of, thinking like, how can I use this system in the best way? And HubSpot won't be able to give you the best quotation tool. You simply won't. And that's why you maybe connected to your platform. And that's also why, we got in contact in the first place, because my feeling was that you acknowledge this, like, you have your own system, but you also understand that it needs to talk to another system. And you were very open to discussing how should a general integration work, what kind of things are important for a HubSpot user, from your end, I know from a HubSpot point of view. And just to have that mindset to, we sell this service as a layer in your tech stack, but we're very open to connecting it to make it seamless. And I think that's also how I choose my partners, because I'm very restrictive of people reaching out and say, you want to partner with us, you want to do whatever. If I see that kind of, we want to do it, can you help us connect that? What is important here? That, of course, makes me much more positive. And I think that's why we're also going to continue working with each other based on that. So it's small things, but that means a lot when you're connecting your tech stack.
Makes, of course, me and us
now
very
I
happy to hear.
Your service as well here. So
boom. Well, thanks for that. But I agree. And actually we had we're lucky to bring our COO on our journey last summer. And he has worked in much bigger companies than anyone other of the founders has before. I mean, we're still a small company. And he said, I was like, from my point of view, we are not really a SaaS provider. And I was like, yeah, we are building a SaaS company. Very important to me. No consultancy firm here, not. And he was like, yeah, but the thing you are doing is that you're advising them on which CRM to choose. You are advising them on how the integration should work. You are and on and on. And I was like, and that really that really caught me. It was like something that had been popping up in my mind is like, yes, the value we bring might be quality quotes quickly and the end customer receive a nice looking, very clear, correct quote quickly, but the value we bring to our customers isn't really that. And now it's so much bragging, so everyone listening to this can just mute or listen to the birds or your children, whatever, scrolling on email. But but it's funny to hear that comes from a partner perspective too. And that's another episode maybe, but to find your niche, how important that is, especially when the times are a bit tough. I recorded another episode this morning, and then we talked about sales psychology, and there we were talking about the importance of, to connect humans to humans, and that is something we're talking to here as well, talking about trends, to do the little extra and to find your niche. And if there's something trends is about, is to be relevant, I would say.
Yeah.
Long monologue
I totally agree. No worries. But I think that is very spot on. I lost track here, so you need to cut this out.
No worries. We had talked about 2 trends, and I'm curious a little bit about maybe if you could. You said you had another trend, but also what you ought the customer, what they should ask about, how they should put on demands on suppliers or consultancy firms. Maybe they go hand in hand, or they're totally different, one trend and the customer point of view.
Oh, but it's once again a good question. I would say in general, like, because we team up with a lot of partners. We just happen to be like a full service agency that handles pretty much everything, but except PR. But at the same time, we know that companies might have a lot of other partners when they come to us, which is totally fine. And I think that's more of a problem, or maybe it's both a problem of the requirements set by the company, but also the other partners to actually collaborate. We don't get any traction if you have an SEO agency doing one thing and you have like a content agency doing another thing, and we don't talk and we don't have these joint meetings. That's not going to work out good. So I would say, like, we're not here to steal everybody's job. Well, maybe a little bit, but not all of the jobs. I think like collaboration is key when you're looking at different suppliers, and really get everybody in the same room, because it almost never happens. It's like maybe five customers of ours are actually inviting us to the same room to discuss kind of all the strategies, whether it's support agents or if it's CRM or marketing, but just get everybody in the same room and get aligned. Don't know if that was the answer to your question, but I would say from a partner and relationship point of view, that is very important.
I would say that is a very relevant trend, if you will, to succeed with your tech stack, to invite all the partners or suppliers, whatever you call them, to one room. And would you say that those 5 clients of yours, are they, in a specific company size, or do they just have, more resources, or do they have understood the possibility for digitization more? Is there something they have in common, you would say?
No, I wouldn't say that they have anything in common, actually. It's more like the legacy that we come into. If you have a legacy of working with, and you become, the best partners is, of course, the one that you feel are your colleagues, that you feel you can call and just feel like an extra part of your own team. And I totally respect that when we come to a company and they say, like, well, I know these people since year before, they know our business and industry inside out. So no, I wouldn't say. It's more related to a personal matter, you know, what kind of preference they have or what kind of legacy they have. I don't see any common things around these companies, no. In general, maybe a little bit bigger companies, but we're also targeting kind of mid-size enterprise companies, and it's not super often that you come to a company that have no partners at all. That would be weird, but yeah.
Would be rare, yes. Okay, and if you were to say this is where companies typically go wrong, where do they go wrong in the journey of digitization?
I think that I need to, you know, go back to the first one. That is the major issue, and that is not, you know, understanding kind of the of doing things correctly and doing things that you can actually stand even 5 years from now to feel like, okay, we can only, you know, put on new stuff and make it better. But that means, you know, the kind of the initial investment, I would say that it's a matter of budget. It's a matter of, you know, hours spent from their end, from our end. It is a boring number, but I mean, I can see every company that really understands this and really invests in the beginning, they become successful. I mean, every time, it never, you know, they never screw up, which means that they also can be more self-reliant. They don't need to call us for everything that they need to do. It's just like, yo, can you update this button? No, we don't want to do that kind of stuff. You should be able to manage your own stuff. But that also means that you need to put out the structure. And I mean, I'm happy to help with that. So yeah, that is the biggest issue, because if you don't do that, that's also as clear. People who try to stress this and feel like, no, we just want to have the bare minimum just to get us started, they always come back 1 or 2 years later. They come back and say, our systems are a shit show, can you help us? And I will say, yes, I can help you, but it's going to be even more expensive now because we need to also clean up the mess. So that is you know, the kind of, you think that you're doing a wise decision, but you're not. And we are, I mean, I have respect for, you know, people don't have all the budget, but at the same time, it will be cost efficient in the end. Absolutely, that to get a, you know, a good implementation of whatever tool you choose. If it's your SaaS, if it's, you know, HubSpot, if it's whatever tool, get that onboarded correctly with an holistic view, and not only that tool. Try to look at it as a landscape and as a, you know, everything connected.
Maybe this is a bit off topic, but is there anything else you would like to share of your experience to succeed with an implementation of whatever kind of tech stack?
To involve the right people. That's also something that I can see changing. I mean, previously we kind of, the only point of contact that we had in regards to sale was the CMO, because they were usually one most, you know, on their toes to say like, okay, we need a new marketing system, whatever. Now we see a huge increase, I mean, the last years, in sales managers rather taking the initiative, which is good. And I mean, if we're looking today, I see more IT people being involved early, which is also super good, because everybody's got to have their fingers in this. So I would just say, get the right people initially. Don't, you know, leave them out of this discussion, because it will impact whole business and not just a specific area. So absolutely. And I mean, people are just more keen to using the systems and software if they feel like they're a part of it and have been able to, you know, actually changing the outcome and saying like, this is important for us, whatever. So yeah.
Nice. Did we have a third trend, or did I miss it because I was talking about something irrelevant in between trend 2 and the future?
No, but I don't know if that's a trend or if it's just me, you know. I'm not going to talk shit, but it is, I would say the thing that has shocked me most since all my year working with this is like, the bigger company you are, the less, I mean, control you have over your business. I meet people on really big enterprise companies and I get shocked that, you know, the way they handle stuff, they can still use spreadsheets. They're a company of like 2,000 employees and it can be spreadsheets. But once again, I kind of respect
about it.
Because, but at the same time, I kind of understand this. It's easy for me to say like, just fix it, just do it. but that's a bigger journey, because to get 2,000 people to get, you know, accustomed to a new system or new systems, that is harder than getting 5 people doing it. But I would still say, like, more people should start now to do that, to actually investigate how do we create this, once again, scalable software tech stack. So that's not I mean, is it a trend? No, it's more like something that I think about all the time, that like a bigger company that the more shocked I'm going to be, like how they handle
a frustration might be a frustration.
Might be a frustration, but probably also a frustration for the people, I mean, on the customer side or the client side. So as I said, respect, but I would really see, you know, let's change that. Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay. I feel that we have talked a bit about trends and also giving them extra advice, for example, how to successfully implement a good tech stack. Is there something going on at HubSpot that you feel is very interesting, or something new, or something that you want to share with us that could be relevant?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I mean, like, first, that people who haven't used HubSpot before, I can just give you some sort of, you know, brief overview. What are we even talking about? I mean, a lot of people think that HubSpot is just the marketing engine. You use it for marketing automation. That's an old legacy, and that's actually how they started. So it makes sense. But a lot has happened, of course, over the years. And today, HubSpot is, you know, consists of 5 different hubs, and they have a really, you know, unique purpose, of course. And just quickly, we have the marketing hub that is features for a CMO or for people working in marketing. That can be everything from ads to connecting your social, you know, social accounts, or handling your email sendouts. We have the sales hub, which is more, you know, you use it for, I mean, of course, forecasting and looking at your numbers, and as a managers to follow up, like, on activities, and also to automate your processes. And that would be the sales hub. Then we have the service hub, and that is, you know, kind of, it's not super new, but it's absolutely contesting the regular, you know, you're used to maybe using Intercom, you're using Zendesk, you're using other ticketing system. But, you know, we're talking about the 360 view. People want to move that into a ticketing system, HubSpot. So yeah, so these kind of hubs, they are very niched at a certain role in a company. But then you have 2 wildcards, and I mean, one wildcard, it's not even a wildcard, but that's a CMS hub, and that's, you know, where you build your website. So if you're on WordPress or Drupal or whatever, and you're using HubSpot, that is kind of a brain fart. You should probably just build your website inside HubSpot, because you will have the same functionality. But, you know, let's say that we get somebody from ICA that you mentioned, like the big retail or food store. Know that they come from ICA, which means that our customer cases on our website should reflect shopping, you know, malls or whatever, rather than the airline industry. So we can just have a smart website powered by the CRM. Then the final hub, that is called operations hub, and that is, you know, my go-to place. When we use these previous hubs, you're always limited to kind of what the UI tells you to use. So let's say that we create a marketing automation flow. We say, if you're a part of the list, high intent customer, send this email. After that, update this property to marketing qualified lead. You can set, you know, all these kind of different things in the workflow. And of course, sometimes you feel like, but shouldn't I be able to trigger something in another system? Or shouldn't I be able to trigger A or B or C, you know, whatever. And Operations Hub actually provides you with the same kind of branching logic, like if they're a part of this list, or if they click that, whatever. Instead of saying update a property or send an email, you can say trigger this JavaScript. And for people who aren't, you know, maybe that technical, it just means that you can do whatever you want. So the limitations that we had before was just like, you know, connected to the UI. But if I want to, you know, ping like the local post office to send a greeting card to somebody, just an external system, I don't know why, then I can trigger that script to, when something happened, do that call, and it will just be handled inside the logic of HubSpot, which means, of course, you need a developer to write the script, but how it should be triggered and that kind of stuff can be managed by a non-technical person. And that, of course, you know, that's the most fun. We have other features in Operations Hub as well, but I would say that's the most life-changing for me, because now I can say everything is possible. Because it's just a matter of what you do. We can trigger it. So yeah, maybe a long talk about that, but I would say like that is gold, and that's also absolutely how we communicate with this B2C and maybe e-commerce trigger SaaS companies, we often use the Operations Hub, connecting the dots.
Yeah, really. And also coming back to the importance of integration, building integrations. Fan, jag svamlar. Building integrations between systems and how you could do it in an easy way, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And I would just like to recap, because I mean, we've been talking a lot of, not mambo jumbo maybe, but a lot of stuff, but, to actually help the listeners to do something, good. So, I mean, I will represent the CTO role here. Of course, you can listen to another podcast with you around other topics, but when you're looking into connecting your tech stack, I mean, just as we said, get out of all the drama. Just, tell me, what do you want to achieve? How do you want to do it? Just make it out in a story or words. That's kind of step one. Step number two is that it's always good to have some sort of RFI or RFP, to actually have a spreadsheet to determine and talk internally and say, like, these features, we need to have those features. Because to have that document, it's good for you as a customer, because then you know what you want and you know how to, compare different systems. But it also helps us very much to see, like, okay, we see that you want this. This is a must-have and this is a nice-to-have. And then we can start using our, professional skills to say, like, then we need to connect A to B. Then we need that. And maybe you haven't even thought about it, but maybe we should connect this as well. So I think that a lot of smaller companies just feel like, they usually send me an email and say, like, can you send an example of how an RFI look like? How do we create that? So I see that there's not super much maturity in that area. It's not that complex. Just create a spreadsheet, write down, want to report on amount of first meetings with customers. Very important, check. Do the next one. And if we have that list, I mean, the best ever. That plus the use case, and just describe that. I mean, we're in a golden scenario. That just happened like 10% of the times when I talk to customers. So that's my recommendations for the listeners. Absolutely.
Since this is a podcast show, the audience can't see me smiling and nodding, but yes, it doesn't have to be more complex than that. No one expects anyone to write it more detailed. It's like you said, from a human perspective, what do we want to achieve? So I think that is a great advice, and hopefully it's usable for a lot of people out there, especially maybe CTOs, similar roles, trying to get some kind of RFP from the rest of organization. Just start with that.
Yeah.
Great.
And I think it will help in the boardroom as well, because if you have, like, this is what we want to achieve, and you start to investigate different solutions to actually do that, instead of getting lost in super cool features. Like, I come from HubSpot and I say, we have this cool feature, you haven't even thought about it. Another company says, we have this feature, and you start comparing, not apples to apples anymore. If you have that, you can say, like, okay, these systems are actually providing what we want to do, which makes it, of course, easier to argue internally to say, like, we actually thought this through. We're just not jumping on a silly trend. This is what we want for our company to grow. And just the final thing there connected to that, I don't think that people understand that the what you choose for solution as as your tech stack will 100% impact your whole business and your company. Sometimes, a board might say, like, no, but this is for marketing people. This is for sales people. It's just like, no, this is going to be like make it or break it in your company, because if you don't do it, you will probably be out of business in 2 years. So I also think, like, we need to understand that this is how we do it. And it's important for the business, not just specific role. Yeah.
I have a question actually regarding boards and system, because Jeanette Antila, she is a professional board member and also investor in Summa Equity. Her episode was released just before Christmas, and she gave the advice with bunny ears around it to CRM system to have board ready reporting, because she said that she wants to see the reporting in the board meetings live from the CRM, because then you know that they are used, that you fill in it with relevant data, and that it's not the spreadsheet somewhere else, that it's actually driven by processes and the system. So she asked for board ready reports. what's your take on that?
It feels super relevant and something that everybody should have. We do it all the time. There are, multiple ways of doing that. I usually say like the reports are the end goal of a whole implementation. You usually say like, we want to measure this, we want to measure that. But if you don't, have the right data, you still won't be able to trust it. So it's like the end goal is to have good reports. And of course, just as a sales manager or a content producer want to understand what content is really driving business, you probably have KPIs that are really important for the board. So either you get, because everybody can, if we're talking about HubSpot, can get free access to, looking at, you don't need to pay for a board member to access HubSpot. But there's also, you can create recurring sendouts of a specific report on a specific date, which means that it's up to date. So, I totally agree. We do it in our board meetings as well. We have these KPIs that we're following. It's not the same as anybody else, but we have a locked report that is only visible for the team in the board that we look at. So, that is just, everybody should do it. And speaking of reports, that's also good homework. I think that you usually want to report on stuff. And I think the one thing that you can really benefit from is understanding how the reporting tools works. No matter what system you have, we usually get a lot of questions like, oh, but can we report on this? It's just like, if you just look into how the logic works of the reporting system and you get accustomed to that, you can create whatever you want. And I think that people, doesn't matter what role you have, should spend more time and understand how a Y and X axis work. And, just really trying to connect the dots, because, the reports are what you will take actions on. That's where you will take your business decisions based on. So understand how they work.
Wonderful. So many good things here. And when you would like to get inspired yourself about trends or technical trends, maybe, where do you look at? Do you follow someone special? Do you read a book? I guess not. But how do you get inspired?
No, I really just get inspired by our customers. 100%. I don't consume anything that isn't, how can I say, like relevant to my job. I would say the questions that we get there sometimes are so crazy or maybe stupid or super good. As I mentioned at the beginning of this call, maybe that, it's not that I have my file that I can open and say, this is the solution that we're going to give to you. So usually it just comes up, a question that's just like, well, I never thought about that. I never tested that before. And then I, start talking with my developers, my HubSpot specialists, everybody who's involved, and everybody just start thinking. I think that's how we grow. We just take these crazy questions, and based on that single question, we can look into so much documentation and so much, trial and error and fuck up, of course, but in a sandbox environment, we just try that out. So I would say like the inspiration and the urge to be better all the time, that comes 100% from the questions that my customers ask me.
Well, great. Now we're going to wrap this podcast up, and I would like you to prepare to a random business related question an earlier podcast has recorded for you. So if you give me a second, I will try to at least share the audio with you.
Okay.
Just try to find the share button. Okay, so give me a thumbs up if you can hear it from now, and maybe we're talking a little bit beforehand, relevant, but from now.
Kan jag liksom fråga nu? Det är liksom, jag vet, Okay, my name is Mika Rubenovic. I'm from Finland, and my company is Imperial Sales. I'm doing sales coaching, and my question is to you, how do you prepare yourself to a meeting that you have agreed and you will have it in 1 week's time? What do you do before you meet the client?
And just to give you a little bit of help, we were talking about sales psychology. So there you go.
Yeah, and this is so fun because I'm going to burn all my bridges here. I'm very well known in this office that I do not prepare for anything because I feel I should not even attend the meeting if I don't have the answers to the questions. So I rather, if I don't have the answers to the questions, I wouldn't be in my role. That's at least how I look at myself. Like, I should know this beforehand. So I'm not working in, sales processes in that way. So if you were to ask my colleagues, they are very good and drilled and have a really good structure on that. But if you're asking me and you're doing that, I would say like the preparation is, of course, understand the expectations. That's like that's the best part of everything. And that doesn't need to be a week in advance. That can be in the actual meeting. Like, what are you hoping to achieve with this thing? When we leave this, what do you want to understand, or what do you want to know? I think that question is missing a lot of times, and you start talking and you have kind of no end goal, or like, what's the next step? So from my perspective, of course, read about, the company that I'm meeting, read about all the questions that they have, probably an RFI, that we talked about this, that I have some documentation to prepare. But other than that, just, try to understand in the situation, depending on who's there, and ask, like, what do you in your role expect from this? Maybe not the best answer, but that's how I roll. So take it or leave it.
I love the CTO perspective, and that's why I chose you to have this question. Maybe I will give it to someone else too, but I think it says a lot that you wouldn't attend the meeting if you couldn't answer the question. I mean, we only see there a lot of preparation going on. So, Thank you so much for answering, and I will connect you to Mikael Ruba, and you can follow up the dialogue if you want, and he can, of course.
Yeah. He can probably teach me one thing or another. Absolutely, yeah.
He's a very interesting character. I recommend everyone to follow him that works within sales. And maybe the last tricky question would be, what are your main challenges in your business at the moment?
I mean, at the moment, we're impacted like the rest of the world by the economy, of course. I wouldn't say we have very good financials here, which is good. We know that we can grow without, actually growing, so we don't need to lay people off. And I'm super happy about that, to keep my colleagues. But of course, that impacts the whole business, and people are a little bit more reluctant to committing to things. They want to do it more like, let's test this one and let's evaluate over time. So, but I mean, we're not the only ones in these positions. I would say, like, that is of course something that's happening right now. But you mentioned that it was something, a struggle, or what should I? Can you
business
repeat?
Challenge. Your main business challenge at the moment that you're facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, another challenge that I think that all consultants are also battling is, I mean, what we do is that our salaries are paid because we do work for our customers, which means that we have so much to talk about, ourselves, and to actually say, like, we're providing this service, but we don't, prioritize to do our own homework. I mean, from an Invise perspective, I think that is also something for all consultants. Like, you do a really great job with all the customers, they get so much result. But if somebody were to come to me and say, like, should I prioritize our customers or the specific, customer case with this integration that you want me to do, I'm going to say, screw that integration. Let's do something good for the customer. And I mean, short term, it works, but it's also, that's a struggle as a business kind of owner, or at least a partner of this company, to get people, to use that spare time that everybody has, because we have a lot of specialists. They're not sitting from 7 to 4 every day. So how can we use that knowledge in a smart way, even though it's fragmented into little, bits? So yeah, it's more like selling ourselves. That's one issue. And the other one is the economy. But we don't have any issues. Like, I mean, we just hang out and have this, blend lager at a weekend, and we just code something and hack something, and it's just
at 7 in the morning. I thought that was a little bit early, but okay.
Well, no, 7. Yeah, exactly. That's
7 to 4. Wow.
No. I mean, on a Saturday, that's okay.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. And I guess that LinkedIn is the way to get in contact with you, or do one send an email or text? Maybe that's too personal.
Yeah. No. Everybody who listens to this can send me a text. Absolutely. But also, of course, LinkedIn, and it's Fredrik Landström. I mean, CTO at Invise. You should probably find it there. So happy to talk to you and help you sort out your business. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, I'm more than thrilled. I'm very happy with this episode. It was great having you here, and I'm sure that you have someone else you want me to invite to Fail and Grow, talking to something OpEx related, maybe someone you want to listen to yourself, preferably outside of Sweden, maybe someone you think that I don't know about yet would be awesome.
And you want me to say that right now?
Yeah, or you can send me a text. Okay, I have to stop this now.
Yeah. I need to send you a text about that, but I think it will be interesting. So let me think about that. I think that we might
Absolutely.
but do you only want Nordic people to talk?
No, it could be anyone, hopefully happy to be in a podcast show.
Okay, so I would say one of the people, or actually the team that I look up to, it's also HubSpot related in some way, but there's a company called Aptitude 8 in the US. And they have two people, their CTO, and I don't know what the title of the other person is. They really like 8-bit, old Super Nintendo games, and everything about them is just like crazy stuff. They brand everything like that, but they must be one of the smartest people out there. I mean, to be creative when it comes to technical solutions, so not just, we're going to integrate this, but just, finding something that the common sales rep wants and just creating a solution and just, selling it as a volume thing. Really fun people. So, I mean, I would listen to that 100% because I like them so much. Absolute inspiration.
Great. If you know them well enough, please connect us. That would be really helpful.
I can do that. I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And now, when you have that, did you call it brand lager? Brand lager in your hand?
No, just like a blend lager.
Blend
I would say
lager.
just like,
sorry.
just the worst lager there is. So
okay.
It's a bad lager. That's all. Yeah.
A bad, cheap lager in your hand, and this song comes up, and you feel like, yes, this week is so good. What are we listening to?
Oh shit! I thought about this week, and I just realized like the best. I'm a singer myself. Actually, I
Wow.
sing soul music for some reason, which is a kind of a thing that I don't talk about too much.
Cool.
My go-to guy is of course Sam Cooke, but Sam Cooke I've been listening to, I mean, thousands of songs over and over for years. So I just, really looking into the Swedish singers, and I would say like the female singers are really taking over. And I mean, I would say like Daniela Ratana. Her album is the craziest thing ever. I think it's called Ratana Club. It doesn't matter what song I choose. It's just like she's golden. So yeah, I would just listen to that album over and over again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining and sharing your expertise, and always great to meet you, Fredrik. I get so energized and happy afterwards. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you so much. A pleasure being here.
Skitbra. Har du en fråga som vi ska, jag vet att vi har dragit ut lite på tiden, men har du en fråga som vi ska spela in, då säger du bara namn och bolag och sen drar du den, eller så får du jättegärna skicka den på en ljudfil efteråt.
Alltså menar du till en fråga till då ett annat, alltså typ de här som jag sa?
Ja.
Ja, jag kan ju inte gå så här god på att du kommer få till ett snack med dem. Men visste han att han skulle prata med mig? Nej, det visste han inte.
Ingen vet vem som får frågan, utan det är jag som har makten över det.
Egentligen kan jag bara ställa en fråga.
Japp.
Alltså till random människa.
Japp. Alltså jag försöker ju matcha det så att ni tycker varandra är relevanta, så att liksom frågan passar. Alltså så här, jag försöker ju liksom, men alltså det har alltid varit från filosofiska frågor till den där är ju ganska så här specifik till makroekonomi liksom.
Okej, men jag tänker att man skulle kunna fråga någonting lite kopplat till det vi pratar om. Alltså typ så här, hur, det beror på vilken roll det är så här. Om du ska ta ett större beslut liksom i det bolaget du jobbar på, hur får du med i styrelsen? Det hade varit intressant att veta.
Ja, kör den.
Okej. Det spelar fortfarande in, ja.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you're looking to make a bigger purchase of some sort for your company, how do you get your board committed to that? How do you get them interested, and how do you actually get a buy-in?
Grymt. Det är ju, jag ser verkligen fram, alltså man ska väl höra alla liksom svara på den frågan.